Hello, friends. You're watching The Night Watchman, where every day you'll hear a brand new horror story that will send chills down your spine. But to keep bringing you these terrifying tales, we need your love and support. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's begin the story. I never imagined that my dream job would turn into a nightmare. It all started when I landed a position at Apex Innovations, one of the top tech firms in Silicon Valley. The office was in Palo Alto, California, a sleek, modern building called the Apex Tower, right off Page Mill Road. Glass walls, open-plan workspaces, free gourmet coffee, and views of the rolling hills. Everyone called it the best office in the valley, with perks like on-site gyms, nap pods, and even a rooftop bar for Friday happy hours. I was thrilled. Fresh out of Stanford with a degree in computer science, I felt like I'd hit the jackpot. My name is Alex Thompson, and at 28, I was ready to climb the corporate ladder. But let's back up a bit. The backstory of Apex Tower isn't something they tell you during orientation. I only learned about it later, piecing it together from whispers and late-night Google searches. The building was constructed in the early 2000s on land that used to be part of an old psychiatric hospital called Willowbrook Asylum. Back in the 1950s, Willowbrook was notorious, a place where patients were experimented on, lobotomized, and worse. It shut down in the 70s after a scandal involving abuse and unexplained deaths. The land sat vacant for decades until Apex bought it cheap and bulldozed the ruins. They said they found nothing but old foundations, but rumors persisted. Locals talked about ghosts, strange lights at night, and workers who quit during construction, claiming they heard screams from the ground. Apex dismissed it as urban legends, but I wonder now if that's why the rent was so low. My first day was picture perfect. I arrived at 8 a.m., badge in hand, and was greeted by my manager, Sarah Jenkins, a sharp, no-nonsense woman in her 40s, with a bob haircut and a perpetual smile. "Welcome to the family, Alex," she said, handing me a branded mug. The office buzzed with energy, coders typing away, designers sketching on tablets, and the faint hum of servers in the data room. My desk was in the East Wing, cubicle 47, overlooking the parking lot. I dove right in, working on AI algorithms for their new app. By lunch, I felt at home. That night, though, things got weird. I stayed late to impress. Common for newbies. Around 10 p.m., the office was empty except for the janitor, an older guy named Miguel from San Jose. The lights were motion sensors, so they flickered on and off as I moved. I was debugging code when I heard it, a soft whispering, like someone murmuring in the next cubicle. I peeked over. No one. Chalked it up to the AC vents. But then my computer glitched. The screen flickered, and for a split second I saw a face. Not mine, but a pale, hollow-eyed woman staring back through the webcam feed. I blinked, and it was gone. Heart racing, I shut down and left. The next morning I laughed it off. Over coffee with my coworker, Raj Patel, a friendly Indian-American guy from Fremont, I mentioned the whisper. He paused, then said, "Oh, the echoes? Yeah, this place has bad acoustics. But hey, don't stay too late. Weird stuff happens after hours." He changed the subject quickly, but his eyes darted away. That afternoon, during a team meeting in the conference room, glass-walled, with a view of the Stanford campus, I felt watched. A chill ran down my spine, like icy fingers on my neck. Sarah noticed me shiver. "A C too high?" she asked. I nodded, but deep down I knew it wasn't. Weeks passed, and the incidents escalated subtly, building like a storm. One evening I found an old key on my desk, brass, tarnished, with W13 engraved on it. No idea where it came from. I asked around. No one claimed it. Curious, I pocketed it. That night, alone again, the whispers returned, clearer this time. "Find me. Release me." I searched the office, heart pounding, following the sound to the basement storage room. It was locked, but the key fit perfectly. Inside, dusty boxes of old files from the asylum era, patient records Apex must have inherited. One file caught my eye. Eleanor Hayes admitted in 1958 for hysteria. She was a nurse who claimed the doctors were possessed, performing rituals in the wards. Her last entry: "They buried me alive in Ward 13. I wait." Shaken, I slammed the file shut and left. but Eleanor's story haunted me. Backstory research online revealed Willowbrook's dark secrets, experimental drugs, electroshock, and rumors of occult practices by the head doctor, Dr. Harlan Crow from Boston. He vanished in 1962, presumed dead in a fire that gutted Ward 13. Survivors said he was trying to summon something, spirits or demons, to cure madness. Ridiculous, right? But the more I dug, the more it felt real. Apex Tower was built right over Ward 13's foundations. Suspicion grew. I started noticing patterns. Colleagues acting off. Sarah's smile seemed forced. Raj avoided the basement elevator. Then, the blackouts began. Power surges at midnight, plunging the office into darkness. During one, I was trapped in the elevator with the doors jammed. In the emergency light, I saw scratches on the walls, fresh like nails dragging. Whispers echoed, "Join us!" The doors opened after what felt like hours, but my watch said only minutes. I confided in Miguel, the janitor. He crossed himself. "Señor, that place abajo, it's cursed. I hear cries at night. Leave while you can." I couldn't. The job was too good. Stock options, promotions whispered. But the suspense mounted. One Friday, after happy hour on the rooftop, beers from local breweries like Lagunitas, I snuck back to the basement. Using the key, I explored deeper. Behind a false wall, I found a hidden room, remnants of the asylum, rusted bed frames, yellowed straitjackets. In the corner, a trap door labeled W13. My hands trembled as I opened it. Stairs led down to a sub-basement, damp and cold, smelling of earth and decay. Down there, the air thickened. Flashlight from my phone revealed walls etched with symbols, occult runes like those in Crow's notes I'd read online. The whispers intensified. "Alex, you found me." I spun around, nothing. Then a figure emerged from the shadows, pale in a tattered nurse's uniform, eyes black voids. "Eleanor?" She lunged, cold hands grabbing my throat. I fought, but she was strong, unnaturally so. "They trapped me," she rasped. "Crow bound my soul here. Release me or join me." Panic surged. I remembered the file. Crow used a ritual with fire to bind spirits. Spotting old wiring, I sparked a flame with my lighter. I smoked back then, a bad habit from college. The room ignited, flames licking the symbols. Eleanor screamed, dissolving into mist. I bolted up the stairs as the fire alarm blared. Firefighters from the Palo Alto station arrived, containing it to the sub-basement. Official report, electrical fault. But it wasn't over. Back at my desk the next week, everything seemed normal. Sarah praised my quick thinking in reporting the fire. Raj slapped my back. Yet that night, staying late again, I couldn't resist. The whispers returned, fainter but multiple voices now. "Thank you. Now we're free." I looked up. Shadows moved in the glass walls, reflections not mine. Colleagues' faces twisted in the dark. Was Sarah smiling wider? Raj's eyes glinting unnaturally? I quit the next day, moving to Seattle for a new gig at a smaller firm. But sometimes, late at night, I hear whispers on calls, see faces in screens. Apex Tower still stands, hailed as the best office. They hired a new coder for Cubicle 47. I wonder if he found the key. The suspense never ends, does it? Because deep down, I know Eleanor wasn't alone. Crow bound many, and now they're out there, in the valley, blending in, waiting. I check my emails daily, half expecting one from Apex. Last week I got one. "Come back, Alex, we miss you." Sender, Eleanor Hayes. Story 2. I never believed in ghosts until the night I stayed late at Whitaker and Klein in downtown Chicago. It was a Tuesday in October, the kind of crisp fall evening where the wind howls off Lake Michigan and rattles the windows of those glass towers on Wacker Drive. I'd been pulling 80-hour weeks as a junior analyst, crunching numbers for the firm's biggest client, a pharmaceutical giant called Nexera Labs. My boss, Harlan Whitaker himself, had dumped the project on me with a grunt and a deadline that left no room for sleep. The office was on the 14th floor of the Whitaker Tower, a sleek 40-story behemoth built in 1987. Suite 1408 was my corner. Two desks crammed with monitors, spreadsheets glowing like digital graveyards, and a single window overlooking the Chicago River. The building had that sterile corporate vibe. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, beige carpets muffling footsteps, and elevators that dinged too softly, like they were whispering secrets. It started small. Around 9 p.m., most of the floor had emptied out. Sarah from accounting waved goodbye from her cubicle, her heels clicking toward the exit. I waved back, rubbing my eyes, and dove back into the Excel sheets. That's when I heard it. The first echo. A faint clack-clack, like high heels on tile coming from the hallway beyond the glass partition. I figured it was the night janitor Maria starting her rounds, but Maria wore flats and her cart always squeaked. I ignored it, sipping cold coffee from the break room pot. 10 minutes later, clack-clack again, closer this time, right outside my door. I looked up, expecting to see someone pass by. Nothing. The hallway stretched empty under the emergency lights, red exit signs glowing like eyes. Shrugging it off as fatigue, I turned back to my screen. By 11 p.m., the echoes grew insistent. Clack, clack, pause, clack. Rhythmic, deliberate, circling my office. I stood, stretched, and poked my head out. Deserted. The floor plan was simple. My office at the end of a corridor lined with empty cubicles, conference rooms on one side, the server room on the other. No one else had keycard access after hours except security downstairs. That's when I noticed the air. It smelled wrong, metallic, like blood mixed with old perfume. I shook my head, blaming the vending machine burrito. Back at my desk, I pulled up the Nexara files. That's our client, developers of experimental drugs, the kind tested in shadows. Rumors swirled in the break room about their labs in suburban Elk Grove, secret trials gone wrong, whistleblowers vanishing. But Harlan shut that talk down fast. Focus on the numbers, he'd snap. Midnight hit. My phone buzzed. A text from my girlfriend Lena in Milwaukee. Go home, babe. You sound dead. I typed back, soon. Then the whispers started. Soft at first, muffled through the walls. The 1408. Help. Female voice, panicked, overlapping like bad radio static. I froze, heart thudding. The server room shared my wall, maybe a glitch in the HVAC? But no, this was human, desperate. I grabbed my keys and stepped into the hall. The whispers followed, bouncing off the partitions. Can't breathe. It's in the air. I followed the sound to the server room door. Locked, of course. Keycard swipe. Access denied. Weird. I had level 3 clearance. Tried again. Denied. The whispers swelled. They knew. Whitaker knew. Frustrated, I headed to the break room for water. That's when I saw the first sign. On the whiteboard where Sarah had scribbled her lunch order that morning, Turkey Club, no mayo. New words appeared in shaky marker, 1408. Don't trust the air. My stomach dropped. Marker cap was on the tray, dry. No one had been here. I snapped a photo, hands trembling, and hurried back to my office. Locked myself in. The echoes resumed immediately, clack, clack from inside now, like heels pacing my carpet. Impossible. I hadn't let anyone in. I called building security. Yeah, Mike, it's Alex in 1408. Hearing weird noises. Can you check the cameras? Mike's voice crackled. Cameras? Floor 14's been glitchy since the remodel, Alex. Harlan's orders. No recordings after hours. You okay? Not really. Send someone up? Only me in the front desk tonight. Elevators are slow. Hang tight. Click. Alone again. The whispers turned to sobs. Experiment. Lungs burning. I Googled Nexara Labs on my phone. Headlines from 92. Whistleblower alleges cover-up in drug trial. Article snippet. Elena Voss, 28, lead researcher, vanished after accusing Whitaker and Klein of falsifying data on Respirax, a respiratory drug that caused hallucinations and pulmonary failure in test subjects. Elena Voss. Clack, clack. High heels. 14th floor. No way. I paced my office, avoiding the window where fog was creeping up the glass. From inside, the temperature plummeted, my breath fogged. Papers rustled on my desk, spreadsheets flipping like pages in a storm. One sheet lifted, floated, then slapped down with writing. Ask Harlan about Elena. Harlan Whitaker, the founder. I'd met him once. Silver hair, cold blue eyes, always in a pinstripe suit smelling of cigar smoke. He owned the building, the firm, everything. Rumor was he'd bought the tower cheap after some 80s scandal. I dialed Harlan's cell, emergency contact from the directory. Voicemail. This is Whitaker. Speak. Harlan, it's Alex in 1408. Something's wrong up here. Noises, writing on walls. Ever hear of Elena Voss? Silence, then beep. No callback. 1:30 a.m. The pacing stopped. Footsteps dragged now. Heavy, wet thuds. From under my desk, I yanked my chair back. Nothing. But the carpet was damp, dark stains spreading like ink. Touched it. Sticky, coppery. Blood? No. Antifreeze green. Chemical. Respira X residue? The whispers laughed now, low and mocking. He buried us in the foundation. Backstory flooded my mind. Piece from half-remembered office lore. In '87, during construction, workers dug up something in the basement. Old barrels from a chemical spill, pre-EPA days. Nexara's parent company had ties. Elena had discovered it. Contaminated soil laced with trial waste. Bubbling up through the HVAC. She'd confronted Harlan, threatened exposure. Then poof, gone. Official story, left for California. But floors 13 and 14? Always drafty, air thick. Complaints ignored. A knock at my door. Sharp, 3 raps. Alex? Mike's voice muffled. Relief washed over me. I unlocked, yanked it open. Empty hallway. But the door across, server room, stood ajar. Green glow pulsing from within. Mike? No answer. I edged closer. Inside, racks of humming servers, cables snaking like veins. In the center, a figure slumped against a console. Woman in a lab coat, dark hair matted, face pale blue. Elena! She turned, eyes milky, lungs wheezing audibly through a surgical mask. The air, it's poisoned. Harlan sealed us in. Sealed? I backed away. The door slammed behind me. Lights flickered. Servers whirred to life. Screens flashing error codes. Breach detected. Containment failure. She rose, heels clicking. Wait, no heels. But the sound echoed anyway. Skin sloughing like wet paper. We were the test subjects. Respiriax breathed it in the vents. Harlan knew the barrels were here. Buried evidence. Buried us alive in the walls during the pour. Flashback hit like vertigo. I'd overheard Harlan once, on a call. The foundation's solid, no leaks. Elena was hysterical. She lunged, fingers clawing, cold, dissolving into mist. I bolted, slamming the server door. Hallway spun. Whispers everywhere, dozens now, overlapping. Choke, suffocate, join us. Elevator at the end, doors open, inviting. I sprinted. Inside hit G, nothing. Stuck. Panel sparked, lights out, backup red glow. And there in the corner reflection, Elena, smiling, mask dangling, clack clack on metal floor, phone dead, no signal. The elevator groaned, descending slowly. 13, 12. Voices chanted floors backward. At 10, it jolted. Doors opened too. My office? Suite 1408, mirrored perfectly, but empty, waiting. I ran out, into the hallway again. Loop, trapped. Panic clawed my throat. Harlan, had to reach him. I pounded on his executive suite door, always locked. It creaked open. Inside, opulent mahogany desk, city view. Harlan sat there, back to me, cigar smoldering. Harlan, what the hell's going on? He turned slowly, face gaunt, eyes hollow. Not Harlan, Elena, wearing his suit. He became us, breathed it too, to silence. No, Harlan's body slumped behind the desk, blue-lipped, cigar ash on his lapel. Fresh. Tonight, she, he, they advanced. Air thickened, burning my lungs. Visions assaulted. 1987 construction. Barrels unearthed. Leaking green vapor. Elena and team exposed, sealed in unfinished walls as concrete poured. Harlan watching, signing off. Now the poison leached up, vents pumping death floor by floor. I gasped, collapsing. Clack, clack, circled. Whispers. Breathe. Join 1408. Dawnlight pierced the window. I woke sprawled in the real hallway, Mike shaking me. Alex, you passed out. Harlan's dead, heart attack in his office. Cops coming. I babbled about Elena. Mike frowned. Who? Never heard. And 1408. That's been sealed since the glitch. Your office is 1407. He pointed. My door. 1407. Server room, gone. Carpet dry, no stain. Police report later. Harlan Whitaker, suicide by poison ingestion. Note, the air takes us all. Elena was right. Nexara sued, buried it. I quit, moved to Seattle. But some nights in my new cubicle, I hear it. Clack, clack. Whispers in the vents. 1407. Coming for you. And the air tastes wrong. Story 3. I never planned on staying late at Mercer and Rowe Accounting, but plans stop mattering when bills don't care about excuses. The office sat on the edge of downtown Cleveland, Ohio, a 12-story concrete block squeezed between a closed movie theater and a parking garage that smelled like oil and old rain. From the outside, it looked harmless. Fluorescent lights, tinted windows, a logo no one remembered after walking past. From the inside, especially after dark, it felt like a place where sound went to die. I had been with the firm for almost 3 years, long enough to know which floor creaked when the HVAC kicked on, which copier jammed if you breathed too hard near it, and which conference room still smelled faintly like cigarette smoke, even though smoking had been banned for decades. That smell came from Conference Room B, a fact I learned only after I asked about it and everyone went quiet. That should have been my first warning. Before Mercer and Rowe, I worked retail. Before retail, I bounced between temp jobs after my father died suddenly of a heart attack. He had been an electrician, the kind of man who believed in honest work and steady hours. When he was gone, the house in Parma Heights felt hollow, like the walls were listening for footsteps that would never come back. So when Mercer and Rowe hired me as a junior auditor, I grabbed the job like it was a life raft. The hours were brutal during tax season, but the pay kept the lights on. My mother stopped worrying so much. I stopped waking up every night at 3:17 a.m. with my heart racing for no reason I could explain. At least I thought I did. That Thursday night in early October, rain streaked down the windows in thin, crooked lines. The city lights blurred into long smears of yellow and red. Most of the staff had already gone home. By 8:30 p.m., it was just me, Daniel Wright from compliance, and Linda Morales, the night cleaner. Linda always worked with one earbud in. She hummed while she pushed her cart, mop bucket sloshing softly. Daniel sat 2 rows over, typing aggressively like he was mad at the keyboard. At exactly 8:47 p.m., the lights on the east side of the floor flickered. They always did that. Old wiring, I ignored it. Then I heard footsteps, not Linda's slow shuffle. These were steady, heavy, coming from the hallway that led to Conference Room B. I glanced up. Daniel? I asked. He didn't look away from his screen. What? Did someone else stay late? No, he said. Why? The footsteps stopped. I felt stupid for even asking. Offices make noise. Buildings settle. HVAC systems click and groan like old men. I went back to my spreadsheets. At 9:12 p.m., my computer screen blinked. For half a second, the Excel file vanished, replaced by a black screen. White text appeared. Still working? My hands froze above the keyboard. Then the screen snapped back to normal, like nothing had happened. I laughed under my breath. Some kind of glitch. Or Daniel messing with me. Except IT access was locked down tight, and Daniel barely knew how to change his desktop background. I saved my work and stood up, stretching my back. That was when I noticed Conference Room B's door was open. It was always locked after hours. Always. I stared down the hallway. The lights above Conference Room B were off. The room beyond swallowed in darkness. I could still smell that old smoke scent drifting faintly through the air. "Linda?" I called. No answer. I walked to Daniel's desk. "Hey, did you unlock Conference B?" He finally looked up, frowning. "No. Why would I?" My stomach tightened. The next day I asked around. People avoided my eyes. Some shrugged. One senior partner, Mark Ellison, cleared his throat and told me not to worry about old building quirks. He said it like he was reading from a script. It was Linda who finally told me the truth. We stood by the elevators during lunch. She leaned close, her voice low. "Used to be another firm here," she said, "before Mercer and Rowe." "What happened to them?" I asked. "They shut down overnight. One day full office. Next day empty. No notice." "Why?" She hesitated. "Fire," they said. But there was no fire damage, just smoke, and one man didn't make it out. My chest felt tight. "Who?" "Thomas Greer, senior accountant. Worked late every night. Died right there." She pointed toward conference room B. "How did he die?" Linda looked at me for a long moment. They never agreed on that. After that, things changed. Every night I stayed late, the same things happened. Footsteps, flickering lights, emails with no sender, time-stamped 11:17 p.m., all reading the same thing. "You missed a column I checked." I never had. One night Daniel left early. Linda finished her shift and waved goodbye. I was alone on the 9th floor, the city dark beyond the glass. At 10:54 p.m., the printer started running. I hadn't sent anything to print. Page after page slid out, hitting the tray with soft, final thumps. They were financial statements. Old ones. From 2003. The name at the top of every page read, Thomas Greer. I didn't realize I was shaking until my teeth started chattering. I should have gone home. Instead, I walked toward conference room B. The door creaked as I pushed it open. The smell hit me immediately. Burnt paper, stale smoke, something sour underneath. The room was dark except for the emergency exit sign glowing red. The long conference table reflected the light like a black mirror. I stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind me. The lights flicked on. At the far end of the table sat a man in a gray suit, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. His skin was pale, almost translucent. Dark circles sank into his eyes like bruises that never healed. He looked up at me. "I hate being rushed," he said calmly. My voice wouldn't work. "You made mistakes," he continued, tapping a thick stack of papers. "I fixed them. Every night. They never noticed." My legs felt weak. "You're Thomas," he said. "Or what's left." The air grew heavy, pressing against my chest. "They locked the doors that night," he said. "Fire alarm malfunction. Smoke filled the room. I called for help. No one came." The lights flickered violently. "I just need someone to finish the work," he said softly. "Then I can leave." The door wouldn't open. My phone had no signal. The windows showed only darkness, like the building floated in empty space. Hours passed, or minutes. Time stopped making sense. Every time I made a correction on the files in front of me, Thomas smiled faintly. Every time I hesitated, the room grew colder. I worked until my fingers cramped, until my eyes burned. At exactly 11:17 p.m., the last file finalized. Thomas stood. "Thank you," he said. The lights went out. I woke up on the office floor, sunlight streaming through the windows. My coworkers crowded around me. Someone called my name. An ambulance arrived. They said I'd passed out from exhaustion. When I asked about conference room B, Mark Ellison stiffened. "We sealed that room years ago," he said. "No one's been inside since the incident." I checked the files later. Every account Thomas had worked on was perfect. And on my computer, saved under my name, was one final document, a resignation letter. Signed, Thomas Greer. Story 4. I never thought my first real job out of college would turn into a nightmare. My name is Emily Carter, and I graduated from the University of Washington with a degree in graphic design. Seattle seemed like the perfect place to start. Tech hubs everywhere, rainy vibes that match my introverted soul, and a chance to escape my small-town roots in Spokane. When I landed a gig at Apex Digital Solutions, a mid-sized marketing firm in the Belltown neighborhood, I felt like I'd hit the jackpot. The office was in a sleek, modern building on Elliott Avenue, overlooking Puget Sound. Glass walls, open-plan desks, free coffee. Everything screamed professional dream. But from day one, something felt off. The HR lady, Mrs. Patricia Hayes, gave me the tour with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "We've had some turnover lately," she said, her voice a little too clipped. "But don't worry, Emily. You'll fit right in." Turnover? In a booming economy? I shrugged it off as corporate jargon. My cubicle was on the 5th floor, shared with a team of 5. Mark Thompson, the laid-back project manager from Texas, Sarah Jenkins, the bubbly copywriter who always had gum, Alex Rivera, the quiet IT guy who fixed everything, and our boss, Mr. David Langford, a stern man in his 50s with a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow. The backstory of the building wasn't something they advertised in the job posting. I learned it piecemeal, from whispers in the break room. Apparently, the site used to be an old warehouse district back in the early 1900s. But before that, way before, it was part of the grounds for the Northern State Hospital, a mental asylum that operated until the 1970s. The hospital was infamous for its treatments, lobotomies, electroshock therapy, you name it. It shut down after a scandal involving patient deaths. Dozens vanished without records. The land was sold off, redeveloped, and now it housed offices like ours. Urban legend stuff, right? I laughed it off when Sarah mentioned it over lunch. "Ghosts in the copier." "Come on," I teased. My first week was normal enough. Endless onboarding meetings, learning Adobe Suites on steroids, and bonding over happy hours at the pub downstairs. But then the little things started. The elevator would ding on our floor late at night when no one was there. I'd be working overtime, common for newbies, and hear footsteps in the hallway, soft and deliberate, like someone pacing. I'd peek out, but the lights were motion sensor, and they'd flicker on to reveal an empty corridor. "Probably the janitor," Mark said when I mentioned it. But the janitor, old Mr. Ramirez, clocked out at 7 p.m. sharp. One evening, around 8 p.m., I was alone finishing a logo redesign. The office was dim, only my desk lamp on. Rain pattered against the windows, blurring the city lights. That's when I heard the whispering. At first, I thought it was the HVAC system, but it grew clearer, mumbled words like a conversation just out of reach. I froze, straining to listen. "Help. Trapped. Please." It came from the vents above my desk. Heart pounding, I grabbed my phone and recorded it, but when I played it back, there was only static. I texted Sarah, "Weird noises up here. You ever hear whispers?" She replied instantly, "LOL, new girl hazing, building's old pipes, don't worry." But I did worry. That night, I dreamed of shadowed figures in white coats, wandering endless halls. I woke up sweating, chalking it up to stress. The next day, Alex pulled me aside in the kitchen. He was usually silent, fiddling with cables, but his eyes were wide. "You heard it too, didn't you?" he whispered. "The voices." I nodded, relieved someone else knew. He glanced around. "Don't tell Langford. He hates superstition. But I've been here 2 years. It's getting worse." He told me about the backstory in more detail. In 1952, a fire broke out in the asylum's west wing. Official reports said faulty wiring, but rumors claimed it was set by a patient named Elias Crow, a former WTO vet committed for PTSD. Elias allegedly murdered 3 nurses before the blaze, believing they were demons possessing the weak. He died in the fire. Body never fully identified. The warehouse built over it in the 80s had its own accidents. Workers falling from scaffolds, machinery malfunctions. When Apex moved in 5 years ago, the incidents started small. Files disappearing, computers glitching with old medical records popping up randomly. Alex showed me a screenshot on his phone, a document that appeared on his desktop one night. Patient log, Elias Crow. Diagnosis, acute paranoia. Treatment, frontal lobotomy. Status, deceased. He deleted it, but it kept reappearing. "It's like the building remembers," he said. I laughed nervously, but inside chills ran down my spine. Suspense built over the next few weeks. Mark started acting strange, forgetting meetings, staring blankly at his screen. One afternoon, he snapped at Sarah over a minor edit, his voice guttural, not his usual drawl. "You don't understand the pain," he growled, then blinked, apologizing profusely. Sarah confided in me later. "Mark's been having migraines. Says he hears buzzing, like old radio static." I noticed the office temperature dropping randomly, even in summer. My coffee would go cold in minutes, frost rimming the mug. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Friday deadline crunch for a big client pitch. Langford ordered us to stay late. The storm outside raged, Seattle's infamous downpours turning streets into rivers. By 10 p.m., it was just me, Alex, and Langford left. Sarah and Mark had bailed earlier, citing headaches. I was at my desk when the power flickered. Lights buzzed, then dimmed to emergency red glows. "Generator should kick in," Langford called from his office. But it didn't. Alex muttered about checking the server room downstairs. I followed him, flashlight from my phone cutting through the dark. The server room was in the basement, cold, concrete, with humming machines. As we descended the stairs, the whispering returned, louder. "Join us. Release." Alex paused. "You hear that?" I nodded, gripping the railing. In the room, screens glowed faintly. Alex typed furiously, but one monitor displayed not code, but grainy black and white footage. Old film, like from the 50s. It showed a man in a straitjacket thrashing in a padded cell. "Elias," Alex breathed. The man looked up, straight at the camera, eyes wild. "They're coming for you," he mouthed. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind us. I spun, yanking the handle. Locked. "Alex!" But he was frozen, staring at the screen. The footage looped, but now the man was free, walking toward the camera. Whispers filled the room, echoing. Panic rose in my chest. "We need to get out." I banged on the door. Alex turned slowly, his face pale. "Emily, I think he's here. In us." His voice wasn't his. Deeper, accented like old newsreels. I backed away as Alex lunged, hands outstretched. "Release the pain," he snarled. I dodged, grabbing a fire extinguisher from the wall and swinging it. It connected with his shoulder. He crumpled, groaning. The door clicked open, unlocked now. I fled up the stairs, heart thundering, into the main office. Langford was there, silhouetted against the window. "What happened?" he demanded. I gasped out the story, but his expression darkened. "You shouldn't have gone down there." Lightning flashed, illuminating his face, eyes hollow like the man in the footage. "Elias?" I whispered. Langford, no, whatever he was, smiled coldly. "The building needs souls, fresh ones. The old ones faded." He advanced, whispering names of long-dead patients. I ran for the elevator, pressing the button frantically. Doors opened. I dove in. As they closed, his hand shot out, but I kicked it away. Descending, I heard screams echoing through the shaft. Not human, but tormented. The lobby was empty, security gone. I burst into the rain-slicked street, hailing a cab to my apartment in Capitol Hill. Police dismissed my story as hysteria. Overwork, they said. Alex was found unconscious in the basement, mumbling about demons. He quit the next day. Mark and Sarah followed, citing personal reasons. Langford? He vanished. The office shut down temporarily for electrical issues. But I know the truth. The asylum's ghosts linger, possessing the weak, feeding on stress and isolation. I quit Apex, moved back to Spokane. Yet sometimes in quiet moments, I hear whispers. "Emily, join us." That was months ago. I thought it was over, until tonight. I'm in my new job, a small firm in downtown Spokane. Overtime again. The lights flickered, and from the vents, "Help! Trapped?" I glance at my reflection in the window. My eyes. Do they look different? Hollower? No, it can't be. The whispering grows. I have to get out. Now. Story 5. I whispered my first confession into the dim glow of my computer screen at 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday in March. The office was empty, or so I thought, in the heart of Seattle's tech district at Apex Innovations, a mid-sized software firm squeezed between rain-slicked high-rises on Fifth Avenue. My name is Jordan Hale, senior developer, 32 years old, and I'd been pulling all-nighters to meet a deadline for our new AI project Nexus. The building's 14th floor hummed with the faint buzz of fluorescent lights and the distant patter of Pacific Northwest rain against the windows. It started innocently enough. I'd been hearing whispers, not hallucinations, mind you, but actual low murmurs filtering through the vents. At first, I blamed the HVAC system, those ancient ducts groaning like old bones. Apex had occupied this space for 5 years, but the building dated back to 1928, retrofitted into lofts during the dot-com boom, and now subdivided for startups. My cubicle was in the northwest corner, near the old freight elevator shaft that hadn't been used since the 80s. That night, as my code compiled, the whispers grew clearer. "Stay, stay with us," they hissed, like overlapping voices trapped in static. I froze, coffee mug halfway to my lips. The office was a ghost town after hours. Security cams blinking red in the corners. Motion sensors silent. I glanced at the clock, 2:20 a.m. No one else had badge access this late except maybe the night janitor, Miguel, but he stuck to the lower floors. Shaking it off his fatigue, I dove back into Nexus. Our AI was designed to predict user behavior in real time, scraping data from emails, chats, even keystroke patterns. Irony hit me later. Maybe it was listening too. By 3 a.m., the whispers returned, sharper now, naming names. "Jordan, Hale, you forgot." Forgot what? I hadn't slept properly in days, but this felt personal. The next morning I arrived early, nursing a hangover from cheap bourbon. The office buzzed with the usual chaos. Interns fetching coffee, VPs barking into Bluetooth, the ping of Slack notifications. Sarah Klein, my team lead, a sharp 40-something ex-Google engineer from Portland, dropped a stack of printouts on my desk. "Jordan, Nexus is gold. Client demo tomorrow. Don't screw it up." I nodded, but my eyes darted to the vents. No whispers during the day. Apex was all glass walls and open-plan vibes, with motivational posters like "Disrupt or Die" staring down from every pillar. Lunch was a sad salad from the cafeteria on the mezzanine, where rumors swirled about layoffs. Tech was tough in Seattle post-pandemic. Microsoft and Amazon sucking up talent, leaving scraps for firms like us. That evening, digging into company lore to distract myself, I found the backstory buried in old Reddit threads and a dusty Seattle PI article from 1932. Apex's building was once the Harlan Whitaker factory, makers of precision tools during the Great Depression. Whitaker, a ruthless industrialist, ran a sweatshop on the upper floors. Workers clocked 16-hour shifts assembling lathes and presses, paid in script worthless outside his company store. But the real horror? In 1931, during a brutal winter strike, Whitaker locked out 47 employees overnight to break the union. No heat, no food, doors chained. By dawn, 12 had frozen to death in the stairwells and elevator shafts. The whispers, locals said, were their final pleas echoing through the bricks. Whitaker covered it up, paid off coroners, torched records in a mysterious fire. He died months later, bankrupt and alone, his body found twisted in that same freight elevator, neck snapped like a twig. The building sat abandoned until the 90s tech renovation. Coincidence? I laughed it off, but as night fell, I stayed late again. 11 p.m. The floor emptied. Whispers resumed. "Jordan, join Harlan. Cold. So cold." My skin prickled. I checked the security app on my phone. No motion detected. Heart pounding, I whispered back, half joking. "Who's there?" Silence, then a scrape, like metal on metal, from the vent above my desk. Dust puffed out, carrying a faint metallic tang, like blood mixed with oil. I grabbed my phone, flashlight beam cutting the dark. Nothing. But on my screen, Nexus glitched. Lines of code rewriting themselves, spitting out fragments. Whitaker locked us in 47 souls. 14th floor. Forget, never forget, yanked the power cord. Black screen. Restarted. Clean. Bullshit, I told myself. Sleep deprivation. But quitting time was 1 a.m., and the whispers wouldn't stop. They chanted now, a chorus. "Stay, stay. Harlan waits." Wednesday blurred into nightmare. During the client demo, Nexus shone, predicting queries flawlessly. Applause from suits in the boardroom overlooking Elliott Bay. Sarah clapped my shoulder. "You're a wizard, Hale." But as we packed up, my terminal pinged privately. "Jordan, why do you run? We see you." "Harlan sees, no sender." I scrubbed the logs, gone. Paranoia gnawed. That afternoon, I cornered Miguel in the lobby. "Hey, ever hear stuff at night? Whispers?" He crossed himself, eyes darting to the elevators. "Si, senor. Ghosts of the lockout. Don't stay late. They pull you in." He hurried off, mop in hand. Dusk fell early, gray skies dumping sheets of rain. I should have left, but Nexus needed one more tweak. By 10 p.m., alone again, the temperature plummeted. My breath fogged. Vents rattled violently. Whispers swelled into shouts. "Hale, you code like Whitaker. Steal our time, our lives." I bolted for the stairwell, but the door wouldn't budge. Locked. From outside, no. Magnetically sealed, like during fire drills. Panic surge. I pounded it. Echoes only. Phone signal dead. Battery draining fast. Back at my desk, the old freight elevator groaned to life. Doors creaked open 20 feet away, revealing pitch black inside. A gust of icy wind blasted out, reeking of rust and decay. Footsteps echoed, heavy, deliberate, descending from above. Thud, thud, thud. I hid under my desk, whispering prayers I half remembered from childhood. The footsteps circled, pausing at cubicles. Papers rustled. A low growl. "Traitor, coder, join us." Nexus screen flickered alive, unplugged. Backstory complete. Harlan Whitaker, 1931. Locked us for greed. Now you code greed. 47 became 48. "Welcome, Jordan." Footsteps neared. I glimpsed it. A silhouette in overalls, face gaunt, eyes hollow voids, neck unnaturally elongated. Harlan. It whispered my name. Hand outstretched, fingers elongated like frozen tools. I screamed, lunging for the fire alarm. Glass shattered. Klaxons blared. Lights flooded. The figure vanished. Doors unlocked. I fled into the storm-swept streets, collapsing in a diner blocks away. Thursday morning, I called in sick. Sarah texted, "Where are you?" Nexus crashed overnight. Weird logs talking about lockout. I never went back. Apex folded months later. Nexus data corrupted beyond repair. Buildings for lease now, whispers say. But sometimes in my new gig downtown, at 2:17 a.m., I hear them. Calling. Harlan waits. And now, reader, they know you listened. Story 6, I never imagined that my dream job would turn into a nightmare. It all started when I landed a position at Apex Innovations, one of the top tech firms in Silicon Valley. The office was in a sleek, 40-story skyscraper in downtown San Francisco, overlooking the Bay Bridge. The building, known as the Vanguard Tower, had been renovated just 5 years ago from an old warehouse district that dated back to the Gold Rush era. I was thrilled, fresh out of Stanford with a degree in software engineering, and now I was part of a team developing cutting-edge AI for autonomous vehicles. My name is Emily Carter, and at 28, I thought this was my big break. On my first day, Monday, June 15th, 2025, I arrived early, buzzing with excitement. The lobby was all glass and chrome, with a massive digital waterfall cascading down one wall. Security handed me my badge, and I took the elevator to the 25th floor, where the engineering department was housed. My manager, David Ruiz, a sharp-dressed guy in his 40s with a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow, greeted me with a firm handshake. "Welcome to the family, Emily. We're glad to have you. Just remember, innovation never sleeps here." He showed me around. Open-plan desks with ergonomic chairs, beanbag lounges for brainstorming, and a kitchen stocked with organic snacks and craft beer on tap. My cubicle was near the window, offering a stunning view of Alcatraz Island in the distance. I met my teammates, Sarah Jenkins, a bubbly data scientist from Texas, Mike Thompson, a quiet coder from Seattle, and Lisa Patel, our lead architect, originally from Chicago, but a Bay Area transplant. They seemed normal, friendly even. We had a team lunch at a nearby sushi spot on Market Street, and everyone shared stories about past projects. It felt like the perfect office. But that afternoon, as I settled in, I noticed something odd. While setting up my workstation, I found an old sticky note tucked under the keyboard. It read, "Don't stay after dark. Jay." I chuckled, assuming it was a prank from the previous occupant. I crumpled it and tossed it in the recycling bin. By evening, I was deep into onboarding code reviews, and the floor started emptying out around 6 p.m. David poked his head in. "Hey, Emily, don't burn the midnight oil on day one. We have flexible hours, but the building gets quiet after hours." I nodded, but I wanted to impress, so I stayed until 8 p.m. The lights dimmed automatically, casting long shadows across the empty desks. As I packed up, I heard a faint whisper, like someone murmuring in the distance. I paused, straining my ears. It sounded like, "Help me," but it could have been the air conditioning. Shaking it off, I grabbed the elevator. On the way down, the car jolted slightly between floors 20 and 19, and for a split second, the lights flickered. When they came back, I swore I saw a reflection in the mirrored wall. Not mine, but a pale face with hollow eyes staring back. I blinked, and it was gone. Probably just fatigue from the move. I'd relocated from Boston 2 weeks prior. The next few days blurred into a routine. Apex was intense. We were racing against competitors like Tesla and Waymo. My project involved debugging AI algorithms for pedestrian detection, which meant long hours staring at simulations. Sarah became my go-to for coffee runs. Over lattes from the Phil's coffee downstairs, she filled me in on office gossip. "You know, this building has a history," she said one morning, her southern drawl adding a dramatic flair. "Back in the 1800s, it was part of the Barbary Coast. Saloons, opium dens, you name it. Then in the 1906 earthquake, a lot of folks died here. They say the renovation uncovered old bones in the foundation." I laughed it off. "Come on, Sarah. That's urban legend stuff. Every old city has ghost stories." She shrugged. "Maybe, but our old CTO, James Harlan, he quit suddenly last year. Rumor is he saw something on the security cams. Never came back." James, that matched the J on the note. Intrigued, I did a quick Google search during lunch. Sure enough, articles from the San Francisco Chronicle mentioned Vanguard Tower's dark past. During the gold rush, the site was a notorious boarding house where sailors were shanghaied, drugged and forced onto ships. Dozens vanished, presumed dead. In 1906, the earthquake collapsed the structure, burying survivors alive. The modern tower was built over the ruins, with developers claiming they honored the history by incorporating salvaged bricks into the lobby. That night, I stayed late again, working on a bug that was driving me crazy. Around 9 p.m., the office was deserted. I heard footsteps echoing down the hall, slow, deliberate, like someone in heavy boots. I called out, "Hello, Mike, is that you?" No answer. I peeked out, but the corridor was empty. Unsettled, I decided to head home. In the elevator, it happened again, the jolt, the flicker. This time, the pale face lingered longer, mouthing words I couldn't hear. My heart raced as the doors opened to the lobby. I rushed out into the foggy San Francisco night, hailing an Uber to my apartment in the Mission District. By Wednesday, paranoia set in. During a team meeting in the conference room, glass walls overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge, I mentioned the whispers casually. Lisa froze, her coffee cup midway to her lips. "Whispers? What did they say?" "Nothing clear. Probably just the vents," David interjected quickly. "Yeah, the HVAC system's old. Maintenance is on it." But his eyes darted to Sarah, who looked away. That afternoon, I found another note on my desk. "Leave before it finds you." No signature. I confronted Mike in the break room. He was fiddling with the espresso machine, his flannel shirt rumpled as always. "Did you put this here?" He glanced at it. "Nope. But, Emily, you should know about Harlan. He wasn't just the CTO. He was obsessed with the building's history, dug into archives at the California Historical Society. Found out that after the earthquake, rescuers heard cries from the rubble for days, but couldn't reach them. People starved, went mad down there. Why tell me this? Because he started hearing things too. Thought it was the trapped souls. One night, he stayed late, and, well, he vanished for 48 hours. Turned up in Golden Gate Park, babbling about the Watcher in the Walls. Quit the next day. I shivered. That's creepy, but coincidences happen. Mike leaned in. Just be careful. The 25th floor was where the boarding house's basement aligned. Some say the renovations disturbed something. I tried to focus on work, but the suspense built. That evening, as twilight painted the bay orange, I explored the floor after hours. The emergency stairwell was dimly lit, with exposed brick walls from the original structure. Descending a few steps, I felt a chill, like stepping into a freezer. Then a soft sob echoed from below. I froze, phone flashlight trembling in my hand. Who's there? Silence. I backed away, heart pounding. Thursday brought rain, unusual for June, turning the city into a misty haze. Work was hectic. A deadline loomed for our AI demo to investors from New York. I buried myself in code, but glitches kept appearing. Lines I hadn't written, like "help me," embedded in comments. I blamed autocomplete errors. Sarah noticed my distraction during our stand-up. You okay, Em? You look like you saw a ghost. Maybe I did, I joked weakly. After lunch at a taco truck on Valencia Street, I snuck into the HR files on the shared drive. James Harlan's resignation letter was there. I can no longer ignore the presence. It watches, it waits. Advise evacuation of floor 25. Attached was a photo from his phone, blurry but showing a shadowy figure in the elevator mirror. Panic rising, I confided in Lisa over email. Her reply, meet me in the lounge at 7 p.m. Don't tell David. The office cleared out by 6:30. Rain lashed the windows as I waited in the beanbag area. Lisa arrived looking haggard. Emily, this isn't a joke. The backstory is real. I researched it too. In 1852, a man named Elias Crow owned the boarding house. He was a crimper, kidnapped men for ships, but he had a secret, a hidden cellar where he tortured victims for fun. During the earthquake, he was trapped down there with them. Legend says his spirit lingers, feeding on isolation. Why us? Why now? The renovations opened old tunnels. Harlan found one behind the server room. He heard voices, saw faces. It preys on new hires, fresh energy. A thunderclap shook the building. Lights flickered. Then the whisper started again, closer. Join us. Lisa grabbed my arm. We need to leave. Now. We rushed to the elevators. As the doors closed, the car plummeted, not stopping, but dropping freely. We screamed, bracing for impact. It halted abruptly at floor 1. Doors opening to the lobby. But outside wasn't the lobby. It was darkness. Damp stone walls like a cellar. This isn't right, Lisa whispered. Footsteps approached from the shadows. A figure emerged. Tall, gaunt, in tattered 19th century clothes. Eyes glowing faintly. Elias Crow. His voice rasped. New blood. Stay forever. We bolted back into the elevator, jamming the close button. It ascended slowly, light strobing, faces pressed against the mirrors, pale, pleading victims from the past. Help us, they mouthed. When the doors opened on 25, we ran to the server room. Lisa revealed a loose panel. Behind it, a narrow tunnel lined with old bricks. Harlan sealed it, but it opens at night. We crawled in, flashlights cutting through dust. The air grew thick, voices echoing. Don't leave us. Deeper in, we found a chamber, skeletons chained to walls, remnants of Crow's lair. In the center, a spectral form materialized. Crow, grinning. You can't escape. The tower is mine. Lisa pulled a lighter from her pocket. She'd come prepared. Salt and fire, she muttered, sprinkling table salt she'd grabbed from the kitchen and igniting old papers. Flames erupted and Crow howled, dissolving into smoke. We fled back, sealing the panel. The building shuddered as if exhaling. Elevators worked normally after that. Friday, I quit. David tried to talk me out of it, but I saw the fear in his eyes. He knew. I moved back to Boston, far from San Francisco's haunted heights. Sometimes in quiet moments, I hear whispers, but I ignore them. The past should stay buried, or so I thought. Last week, Sarah texted, "It's back, help me." I haven't replied, some horrors you can't outrun.